Coming up on All About Android's me, Florence Ion, Ron Richards, and we welcome Max Weinbach from XDA Developers to the show. We have hands-on with the Huawei Mate 40 Pro and the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro. Also, we talk about the rumored Google Card, and it could be near. Does the iPhone SE 2020 version kill the as-yet unreleased Pixel 4a? We have a little discussion about that. Fortnite relents to the Play Store. Your email and a whole lot more next on All About Android. All About Android is brought to you from LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether they're working in the office or remote. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by LastPass. LastPass manages every entry point to your business so you can mitigate risk, whether you're working in the office or remote. No matter where your employees are, LastPass helps you keep peace of mind. Visit lastpass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. And by Hover. Do you have a domain name that truly represents you and your passion? Visit hover.com/twit to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. And by ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter knows that we have to work to stay strong, connected, and focused. To find the right people for the right jobs, go to ziprecruiter.com/worktogether. Hello, welcome to All About Android, episode 469, recorded on Tuesday, April 21st, 2020, your weekly source for latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
There we go. We got you now.
And I'm Florence Ion.
Flo, you had this look of like, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? And it did. We're welcoming back Burke to the controls. Victor is not in the studio. Burke is filling in, and we appreciate your presence, Burke. Thank you for pushing all the buttons today. Joining us this week, very first time on the show, Max Weinbach from XDA Developers, XDA-developers, of course, .com. How you doing, Max?
I'm doing well.
Yeah. Right on. That's good. It's good to see you. I'm a big fan of your work. I love the work that you guys are doing at XDA. And actually, if I was to look through our schedule and see how many XDA writers we've had on in the past year, we've had quite a few of you guys. So we appreciate you guys taking the time to jump on the show. It's great to welcome you to the show, Max.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be on.
Right on. Let's see here. We got a lot to talk about. I'm actually really looking forward to the hardware block because, Max, you have a couple of phones that we've talked about, what we haven't shown off in the hardware section yet. So can't wait to hear what you have to say about those devices. But before we can even think about going there, Burke, it's time for the news.
I still got nothing. It's a cool bumper, though.
Yeah. Whoa.
Look at that.
I forgot that bumper even existed. That was the slide-out camera bumper that Victor made quite a ways back.
Do you think we're able to have Victor pre-record audio to go in that spot?
Yeah, I think that would be.
And we can roll that. That way he can. Yeah, then we can get a little piece of Victor with us.
That would elevate the complexity.
I mean, Victor's
of
here.
production.
He's just not on a microphone, so
or maybe if
knows.
Victor could chat to me, I'll read what he says during that time.
Now that's an idea that might be easy to live.
Okay, I will happy to do the Victor voice, and I'll do that. So anyway, let's hear about the latest in leaks, Jason.
All right, let's do it. So following on the heels of the successful Apple Card, you may remember that from last year, might be Google with, you guessed it, a Google Card. This according to a TechCrunch report. Apparently, it's going to be a smart debit card. So Apple really went kind of the credit card approach. This would be a smart debit card, a physical card that exists alongside other cards inside of the Google Pay wallet. It would be tied to a checking account. The app would be, of course, used to do, all the normal Google Pay things. But with this particular card, it would track the spending, the balance. You could add money to it, lock it from within the Google app. The app could track lost cards. So if you lost your Google card, you could hopefully find it or know that it's, safe somewhere or whatever, order replacements, that sort of stuff. And it'll be co-branded with banks. All that I thought of when I first read this was, wait a minute, Google did that already.
I was just gonna say, didn't I this is like Groundhog's Day. Didn't we have this already? The wallet card, right?
Yeah, it was tied to win the service. Probably 5 or 7 name generations prior to what it is now when it was called Google Wallet. They had the worst
card. Logo ever.
What was the
that
logo?
W. It was that weird W. Do you remember that?
Wait, Google Wallet was a physical card? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I have one, but not here. It's at the studio.
Oh my gosh.
Because when I read this, I was like, "Is this a collector's item that I have?"
Do you see? Yeah. Do you see it, Flo? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I see it on a publication I used to write for. Like, clearly, I have put this in the back of my mind as a thing that existed.
Oh yeah, okay. Now I remember. Yeah, I mean, squiggly. It's kind of inoffensive. It's just.
Burke, are you able to show? Are you able to show an image or? There you go. There you go. If Burke wants to show our viewing audience what the Google Wallet card looked like.
You need to walk me through it. Where am I looking for this thing you're showing? Am I looking? Actually searching for it?
Under the link in the doc.
Whoops. Oh yeah. So I see. So we have a link in the doc that's pasted. So Max, were you ever a user of the older incarnation of this? Do you think it's smart for Google to go the debit card approach? Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Burke.
Yeah,
that's the card exactly. Do you think it's smart for Google to go the debit card approach as opposed to the credit card, which is kind of what Apple is doing? Or is this another case of Google saying, "Oh, we want to do what the cool kids are doing"? What do you think?
I think it is a smart card for Google to be doing from their perspective, because there's basically no liability for them, which there would have been with a credit card. So it's kind of a hands-off thing where they just launch it and let it go. So, I don't think it'll be canceled randomly. But, yeah.
But you never truly know, do you?
Oh, never.
Yeah. So, I'll check this out. Although I will say, okay, so Google Wallet, when Google Wallet happened, that was like early on in the mobile payment thing. And I definitely know from my perspective, it just didn't work for me. I tried it a handful of times. I even got that physical card and I think I used it once. I didn't integrate it enough into my life to really come to depend on it. So my experience then was a little soured. Now I use mobile payments all the time. Well, at least I did when I left the house. So, maybe this is the right time to bring back the card. Maybe now is the right time to strike as far as that's concerned. Maybe habits have changed a little bit more. What do you guys think?
That's a good point. I am curious what the perks would be for having this, because I feel like, so the Apple Card has a bit of prowess attached to it. I remember I was eating vegan in LA, which is a very LA thing to do. And I was overhearing this conversation. This guy was just showing off his Apple Card to his friend. And I realized this card exists in just the vernacular around it is just that this is a status symbol for being an Apple user, and you get some cash back from my understanding for using it. So what am I going to gain as an Android Google person from having this card besides contactless payments, which I already have with my phone and my watch?
You know what's so funny? What's so funny, Flo, is that you say that there's some prowess of being an Apple, whatever. Is that I have a friend who actually is an Apple, whatever, and got the card, and after a week or two was I'm a little embarrassed I got this thing. I don't think I'm going to use it anymore.
Maybe it's an LA versus New York thing.
I'm ashamed to say I have an Apple Card.
There you go. See?
Tell us, what is life like? Do people look at you differently?
They do when you throw it down on a table and everyone looks around since it's really loud.
It is because it's literally metal hitting the table.
Oh yeah. But the credit card itself is a terrible credit card. It's not good. Credit limits are terrible on it, and it's just not a good card. But the actual physical card is nice.
Yeah, the physical object itself is nice, but I feel like when reason that you should want to have it is not.
When you're shopping for a credit card, you really like the physical look and feel of the card really should be lower priority than, I don't know, the interest rate or the credit line or any of those, kind of key things.
Completely disagree, Ron. Most important thing is how that credit card looks in your wallet. That's the most important. And if you can cut an apple with it, which you could probably do with an Apple Card.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. I mean, obviously, this is a leak, so we don't have any solid details direct from Google. Have to imagine Google's going to bake in some sort of incentive, because otherwise it's really hard to understand why this exists, unless it exists for the same reason that Google did it in the previous incarnation, which was people weren't used to using their phone on mobile payments. So let's give them our mobile payment system in a form factor that they're used to using, which is a credit card, that matches all the other credit cards in their wallet. Maybe that's the same thing here, with the additional kind of aspects of being able to have the app track all of the spending and all that kind of stuff inside. So maybe it's like credit card plus a little bit extra on the data side of things. I don't know. So we'll see. We will find out someday. That's about all we know about that. Flo, it looks like we aren't going to stop talking about Apple yet.
No, we're not. I mean, nobody is going to stop talking about Apple, especially now after we read this news item, which is last week, the iPhone SE, the next version, the iPhone SE for 2020 was announced, and it is $400, the cheapest iPhone device that we have ever discussed to date. And the internet went bananas over this. Firstly, because it's a $400 phone. And secondly, because it's a $400 phone with some very compelling specifications. But of course, because of this, everybody is now comparing it to the Pixel 3a and the upcoming Pixel 4a. So a lot of folks have pointed out that the Pixel 4a apparently already has set it in the stars that the Pixel 4a has no chance against this version of the SE. Okay. The SE has the same A13 Bionic chip as the iPhone 11. So they're kind of saying, here's this phone that's this cheaper version of, a flagship versus the Pixel 4a, which is just going to be a cheaper version of a flagship phone in also specifications. So don't expect, an apples to apples usage case.
Apples to apples.
Yeah, I actually didn't even mean to do that. But anyway.
Yeah.
So there has been a lot of conversation around how this is going to kill the Pixel 4a before it even arrives. Even Android Central had put out an opinion piece sort of say that the iPhone SE, it does shake up the mid-range phone category, but then there's the other side of the coin, which is saying this is not really going to do anything for the Pixel because we're talking about a very different percentage of the usage population here. So I think it's up to us to discuss this and how we feel about it. And I would like to see what Max thinks. Max?
Okay.
How do you feel about the iPhone SE?
It looks like the iPhone 8S, which isn't necessarily bad, but it feels outdated compared to mid-range Android phones. I have a $300 Android phone that looks the same as it's this one. It's the Mi 9T. It looks the same as the OnePlus 7 Pro. It's $350. It's not as fast as an iPhone SE 2, but I don't think it'll kill the Pixel. Because from what I've heard from a lot of people that have had some insider knowledge of that 4A, they think the 4A is going to destroy the iPhone SE.
Really?
From camera, display, and value.
Okay. I mean, the 3A set a very good precedent for the 4A to do well. I also linked to an article from J.R. Raphael, who we haven't had on the show, friend of the show. We haven't had him on in a very long time.
Too long.
I just found out today we're getting him back. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to have JR back. I am so psyched. But he wrote an article for Computer World where he was kind of debunking the argument to basically say, hey, look, why is it that if the iPhone SE is a $400 phone and the Pixel 4a is a $400 phone, that one wins and the other loses? Because guess what? They're both on completely different platforms. It kind of doesn't matter, right? The iPhone SE matters to the iOS platform, and the Pixel 4a matters to the Android platform. And we already know that the 3a was the best valued phone, in my opinion anyways, from last year that you could get for $400. It was crazy how good it was. I expect that to be the same with the 4a, and just because the iPhone SE exists in the same price category, like, I don't see that necessarily changing. But maybe the other side is saying, well, people who are on Android are always looking for a reason to finally switch over to iPhone, and here's their $400 reason. They get a phone that's just as fast as the most premium iPhone out there, mind you, not the same amount of RAM or storage or anything like that, but the processor is. And maybe that's enough to finally woo them over to iOS, and I'm not sure I buy that.
No, those people don't go by specs. So.
Yeah.
Can I make a confession?
Confess.
I'm probably going to buy this phone for my wife.
I understand.
So the reason being is she's already an iPhone user, but I have her on an old. But I have her on an old OnePlus 6 or 6T to use the camera to take pictures of the babies. So I was like, having her sample Android and use all that kind of stuff. And I was kind of thinking of going towards the Pixel 4a or 3a kind of side for her. But to be honest, it's the screen size. She has the old model of this, and she has refused to let go of the iPhone 6 SE. Is that the one that it was? Where like the flat metal kind of thing around it. And she does not want a phone bigger than 4.7 inches. Like, she does not want. She's
not the only person.
Exactly. And so, like, she doesn't care about the processor. She doesn't care about all this sort of stuff. All she wants is the camera and the size. And I honestly don't have a alternative on the Android side to give her that matches the size requirement there on this spec. So, someone who's looking for a phone that's not a enormous semi-tablet type device, it's a pretty decent option. And the price tag, I was like, it's just $399. That's a no-brainer. So...
Yeah, that's why I have friends who didn't switch to the iPhone 10 or the iPhone 11. I'm kind of losing track of which iPhone's what. But yeah, because those friends said, oh, well, I don't want to get like a giant phone. This phone is huge. I want to stay small. So they would go with the iPhone, I think the 8. I lost track of the numbers. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The SE is a 4.7 inch display, which you're right, in the Android space.
That is so small now.
It's hard to find that.
Yep.
It really is. Maybe.
And they've all gone bezel-less.
What's that?
Yeah. They've all gone bezel-less. So you can get a phone that size, just screen's bigger.
Right. You're going to get more screen out of it, even if the body of the device is about the same. Right. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Again, it's not all apples to apples in that regard. So.
Wah-wah. Let me tell you what's also not apples to apples.
Yes.
Photo images from Huawei. So stop me if you've heard this one before. But Huawei had a photography contest on Weibo in China, which is Weibo, for those who don't know, is a popular social network in China. And Huawei claimed the photos were taken using Huawei phones. And yes, sure enough, one of the images was taken with a Nikon D850 DSLR, which starts at $3,000. A Weibo user recognized the image from 500 pixels, 500px, where it was originally posted, another photography-based website. And the EXIF data and the post itself disclosed its Nikon origination. Huawei did, of course, apologize and re-edited the video to remove that photo. And this is at least the fourth time this has happened with Huawei. It's almost to the point where I want to get a little sign. This is the number of times Huawei. I was just going to say that wrong. Huawei, number of times. It's been X number of days since Huawei lied about a photo being taken with one of their phones. I don't know. I mean, Max, do you think that Huawei even needs to do this? Aren't the cameras in their phones pretty good?
I like it. I have the P40 Pro. I'm not going to talk about that later, but I like their cameras. I don't think they need to, but they're trying to find any way to like have an advantage over literally anyone else, and that's their way of doing it by using photos that aren't from their phones. And to be fair, Samsung has done this before too.
Yes.
Do we think that this is user error? Do we think that like some like marketing agencies putting together the video and they like someone put a photo in the wrong folder and it got into the video edit? Like I can think of a million ways this happens by accident.
There are a million ways it does, and also a couple more reasonable ones of how it probably happened on purpose.
Yeah,
I think they probably did it on purpose to try to sneak a really good pick in there. So maybe one not so good one, a really good one, and then another not so good one to try to keep you on there. And unless you were looking closely, you wouldn't have noticed.
I mean, looking at this photo, and Burke, it is in that article. I don't know if you showed it. If you show that article and scroll down a little bit, you end up seeing the photo that is being talked about. It's a pretty awesome photo. I'm not saying that smartphone cameras couldn't take something like this, but it's definitely an eye-catching photo. So if this is part of your gallery, along with other photos that are coming from a phone, this one would stop you, and you'd be like, man, okay, that camera system is awesome. Like, I've wondered the same thing too, Ron. Like, how accidental could this happen? And you're right, there are a number of ways that this could happen by accident. But when you are a company of this size and you have the budget that you do for proper promotion and PR
and the resources
and the resources to absolutely make triple sure, especially because you've been busted on this 3, 4, 5 times now, to make sure, just literally, Fred, just sit down with all the images that are going to go out in this video and just search them on the web and just make sure they don't exist somewhere else. Just do that for me, Fred. Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry, Fred, if you get all the slack for this, but there it is. You know, like, it's hard for me to believe that there isn't someone whose job it was to make sure of that in a campaign like this. And
do you know how much I wish the guy on the Huawei marketing team name is actually Fred right now?
You're right. You're right. It's probably Bob.
Could be.
Yeah.
It's probably Bob or Frank or Gina. Let's see here.
Yeah, we're all the way.
I know. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So there you go. I'm sure we'll see another story like this in a year. That's probably the
3
TLDR.
months. Or 4 months.
3 months. Who the heck knows?
Mate 40 Pro.
Right, exactly. It just keeps going. Let's take a break, thank the sponsor, and then we will get into the hardware block where we have not 1, not 2, but 3 awesome devices to talk about, and we have them kind of in hand to show off as well. So we're going to talk about all those devices coming up. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by LastPass. Your remote workforce is a vital part of your business, but it can also be a security risk. LastPass easily transitions from in-home or in-office to in-home, where we all happen to be, with ease. Your IT team is still the gatekeeper. So LastPass enables IT to remain in complete control over which employees are accessing which resources, no matter where they're working from for unified visibility, of course, over access and authentication. LastPass ensures your employees have secure access to their work applications with SSO and password management. LastPass offers an offline mode for both password management and multi-factor authentication, so your employees can gain access no matter where they might be. LastPass also makes your team more productive and secure. It's easy for your team to collaborate with coworkers when working remotely, which we all need a little bit of that ease right now. LastPass enables remote employees to securely share passwords across teams in order to stay on top of critical projects. And did you know the average business has 185 shared folders? I believe it. I think our company has about that many. It's kind of crazy sometimes trying to find the right document, the right folder, that sort of stuff. It's critical for businesses to consider implementing policies and tracking reports on shared password activity to ensure employees are operating securely. Seamless collaboration with coworkers is essential, especially when you're working remotely. With the current uptick in phishing attacks, you need LastPass. LastPass reduces the risk of phishing schemes by never autofilling passwords on suspicious websites. For remote employees accessing your corporate VPN, LastPass adds an additional layer of security directly to your VPN through biometric multi-factor authentication. I love using the biometric authentication feature on LastPass. It makes it so much easier and feels more secure. We use LastPass, of course, at TWiT. We've used it for a while now. I've used it for a while beyond that. It's just such an easy way to manage your passwords. Just make sure that you're practicing good password protection so that you're being as secure as you can be. And it just makes it super easy to do that. TWiT and LastPass are presenting, by the way, cybersecurity and identity trends unlocked with Leo, Steve Gibson, Andrew Keen, and Gerald Buchel. It's Thursday, May 14th at 1 p.m. Pacific. If you want, you can watch this live panel at twit.tv/live. And then afterwards, of course, it'll be published to our TWiT events feed. They're going to discuss how the new decade will impact digital identity for businesses and individuals and a whole lot more. So be sure to watch on May 14th at twit.tv/live. So get simple security across every access point with LastPass. You can visit lastpass.com/twit to find out how they can help your business and employees stay productive and secure. That's lastpass.com/twit. We thank LastPass for their continued support of the TWiT network and all about Android. All right. And with that, it's time for some hardware. And this week, why don't we start with the one that we talked about last week? We showed it off a little bit, the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro. I published my review of both devices on Hands on Tech yesterday. So if you want, you can go to twit.tv/HOT87 and you can see the full kind of 15-minute dual device review. And then Max, I know you have these devices in hand. The devices have been reviewed on XDA. They were not reviewed in these reviews by you. I'm sure you have a whole lot of opinions on these, though, and I'm really curious to hear them. So tell us a little bit about your time with the OnePlus 8.
So I got the 8 and 8 Pro yesterday. Nice. Got them a little bit late. But so far I've had I like it. I think the 8 is a better size than the 8 Pro. It is a lot more comfortable. It's smaller. It's a comfortable size. But the 8 Pro, from any hardware perspective besides size, is so much better. The camera, wireless charging, IP68, the screen, the actual specs besides that, they're very similar, but minor differences make the 8 Pro a little better. So they're good phones for the price. They totally beat out like the S20s in value and the Z Flip and most other phones, but they're all around good.
Yeah.
Not much I can say against them.
Yeah, and I think as you use the 8 Pro especially, man, when you've got that display at 120 hertz and full 1440p resolution, like it looks really good. Like it's an eye spoiler, and it ends up.
I was just gonna say, is it gonna spoil you for other phones? Like, is it one of those? Because the thing is that like with these new models, especially when they're releasing them, one a year, sometimes in 6 months, the 8T come out, towards the end of the year, but I'm always looking for a feature that ruins you for the previous phone. And as an owner of a OnePlus 7 of a OnePlus 7 Pro, it's like, well, what is the thing that if I go to the 8 is going to ruin me for phones since then? And it seems like it's that screen and the refresh rate.
I mean, running at full 120 hertz and full resolution at 1440p is just, it's bonkers how good it looks, and everything just feels like super smooth and liquid, like I mentioned last week. But then that's not to say that it doesn't look great on the 8. Like the regular 8, it runs at 1080p, locked at 90 hertz, and it still looks awesome. I mean, no matter how you slice it now, my eyes have become really accustomed to the higher refresh rate at this point. So, going down to 60 hertz again, I totally notice it. But the difference between 90 and 120 is a little bit more difficult to see. But that's where the added resolution running at 120 just becomes kind of the spoiler. My eyes will undoubtedly get used to ramping down again because there are no other phones doing that. Even the S20 series can do 120 hertz, but you can't do that at full 1440p resolution. It has to go down to 1080p to do that. So, this is the first phone that I've used that does that, and yeah, it looks really good. But is it? I guess the question is it enough? Like for you, Ron, is it enough to make the jump from the 7 Pro? A lot of people are comparing the regular 8 to the 7T to say there's really no reason to upgrade to the 8 if you got the 7T, or if you're thinking about getting the 8, consider the 7T because it's like $200 less and the upgrades are pretty minor comparatively speaking, so it's more of a value. Something to keep in mind, but I thought the 8 was a solid player as well, a solid performer. Yeah. You know, it's got the Snapdragon 865 in there just the same as the larger one, so it performs really well. I think if I was in the market and I needed to upgrade, like I shattered the screen on this phone, I needed to buy a new one or whatever it was. Yep. As we were looking at it after the show last week, I was diving deep into the specs, and like while the 8 Pro and the display stuff looks really neat, I probably would just get the 8 because the 8 seems just as fine. Like it seemed. Like you could, like if you're watching how much you're spending and that sort of thing, it looks like that would be a solid choice. Totally. But that said, I really love my 7 Pro, so I don't know. At this point, I have no reason. I literally have nothing to complain about it. So. Yeah. And just from a size perspective, so I don't know if this is going to come up over the connection, but on.
Oh yeah, that width. Oh my gosh! Wow.
So, and also height. So the 8 Pro is taller than my Pixel 4 XL. So to give a size comparison, and definitely the width, the Pixel looks a little bit thicker. Well, they're about the same. It's hard to tell. One is more rounded than the other.
Zoom.
Oh, nice, Burke. So it is a little bit taller. So this is the 8 Pro. God, I'm getting all my numbers mixed up. The 8 Pro is definitely a little bit taller, a little bit bigger of a phone. So you got to be okay with that. But
a little bit of a baller.
A little bit of a baller.
I didn't want to say it. He really did lay the groundwork for that, though, Flo, and good on you for picking it up.
Thank you.
I will say. Sorry, I was going to say the 8 Pro is slightly bigger than the 7 Pro, and it feels bigger while using it, but not while actually looking at the sizes. Like size-wise, It feels bigger, but it doesn't look bigger. It's really weird.
Interesting. That's like a weird, like a wormhole kind of paradox in that it doesn't look bigger, but it feels bigger. And
yeah, I mean, I've got both of them side by side, and you can kind of see maybe you can see the 8 Pro is just slightly taller than the 7 Pro. But I mean, design wise, they really didn't steer too far away from the design notes of the 7 Pro when you're talking about the 8 and the 8 Pro. I mean, obviously the camera module on the 8 Pro is a little different, but design-wise, they're very similar. Like I looked at each, kind of putting them up side by side and all around and everything, and except for that pop-up camera that's no longer there. Sorry, Ron.
I do love that pop-up camera.
Missing out on that one. But anyways, so definitely go over to XDA, check out the reviews there. Max, I'm sure on your Twitter you'll be putting out. Do you have plans for these phones of publishing anything about that?
I will probably be tweeting a bunch of random stuff about them as it comes to me. I actually I might have to get my 8 Pro replaced. The inside of the camera started to fog up, like the actual inside the camera module behind the glass. So I have to email OnePlus and probably get that replaced.
Oh no. Any indication as far as like how that happened, or
no? I went outside last night to try to test out the night mode, and the camera was all foggy. And I came back inside, wiped off the glass, and there was fog behind the glass on the lens. So no idea how that happened.
And that's weird because these are IP68 certified, right?
Yeah, they are. So I'm thinking. I assume the review units I sent out were probably pre-production. So I'm going to probably just email them today or tomorrow and hopefully get that exchanged because I assume that's an issue.
Yeah. Well, I'd be curious to find out if that's an issue for others. I certainly haven't had that issue, but that is concerning. You definitely don't want that to happen on your phone. No. You just spent almost $1,000 for if you get the top of the line 8 Pro.
Who knew that we'd be saying that about the OnePlus at this point, spending almost $1,000?
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. Another phone that we've talked about on the show, but we haven't actually had any like in-use perspective or even shown it off really in person, is the Huawei P40 Pro and Max. You have this phone. How long have you been in contact with this phone, and what can you tell us about it?
I've probably had it for like 10 hours. I got it earlier today.
Oh, okay.
I got this deep sea blue one, which I really like blue phones. Ooh, that's a nice blue color.
That's a good color. I like it. I'm with you.
Oh yeah. It has it doesn't really have color shift, but if you get the light directly on it, it becomes a lighter shade. And so far, this is probably the nicest feeling phone I have ever felt. The curved screen. Oh yeah. The curved screen feels like the phone and the glass. Everything is one piece. There's no real border between them. And then the bottom curve makes the gestures very comfortable. So I really like dual curve, or the quad curve, sorry. Because the bottom, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera. The bottom's curved.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it is. You're right.
Yeah.
So the glass on the top.
Yeah, the glass on the front and the back kind of curve around the bottom. I mean, that is a phone you never want to have meet the ground for any reason whatsoever.
I think it came with a case in the box. I didn't really check, but I think it has a case in the box. Huawei usually puts them in.
Yeah, a lot of them are doing that more now, and that's good to see. Yeah.
Oh, so it also has it has the hole punch, and then it's like a huge one that has Face ID scanners in it. Time of flight.
Oh, okay. How do they compare to what's on the Pixel and kind of the system on the Apple on the iOS devices as far as that's concerned?
So from what I understand, normally you have to like move your head in the weird rotation to get it connected. On this, I didn't, so I don't know if it's actually using it. I know it's there, but I don't know if it's using it, so I don't want to say it's as secure. In actual image quality, though, it is the sharpest image I've seen on a front-facing camera.
Okay.
I don't know if I like that, though, because remember, there's a reason Barbara Walters put a little Vaseline on the lens. Okay.
There's a reason.
It actually, on previous Huawei phones, it would have like beauty mode enabled and you couldn't shut it off, and it was really intense. When you set it up, the first time you take a selfie, I've spent I've reset this phone 3 times trying to get Google Apps on it. I'm like kind of there. But when you set up, you first take a front-facing camera picture, it asks, do you want beauty mode on or off? And then do you want to mirror the image? And it actually has full pop-ups instead of having to go to settings to do it.
Yeah, okay, beauty mode, I mean, look, everybody Facetunes out there, right? This is just like part of it. But I hate it when it's super overt and you're like, okay, I don't really look like that in person. But anyway.
Yeah, when it looks like it's literally putting a mask on you. It's like a you mask. It's just like, all right, turn on this mode, and it's like your face, but a mask version of your face.
Exactly.
It's a you mask. That's fantastic, by the way. And horrifying. Like, thank you, Jason, for my nightmares of like seeing you guys with masks of yourself. Like,
32 megapixel is the front-facing camera. And you're right, IR depth sensor.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. So how do you feel about this story? It's kind of related, but I saw this kicking around. Android Police, they posted an article, of course, about just the fact that, hey, this is an amazing phone. It's just really too bad that it's so borked because there are no Google apps or services on it. It can't compete without that. And apparently Huawei got in touch with Android Police and sent them an email asking for every phone they've ever sent back. Basically saying, from what I understand anyways, and I'm obviously not privy to any inside information, is just from reading the article and kind of seeing some tweets. Huawei didn't seem to like the tone of that article very much, but it's a fair criticism, right?
Yeah.
Or is it? Like, maybe I understand in some markets it might not be, but for the wider kind of release of a phone like this, it has a potential to be so much more than it is, and based on the current paradigm of Android in much of the world, it is missing out, and that will hinder it, right?
Oh, yeah. I tried to use mine without Google Apps for maybe about an hour, and it was basically impossible for me. So I've spent maybe 6 hours today getting Google Apps side loaded onto this, and I have it like kind of working. Some apps work, some don't, but the majority of apps work, and it makes it much more usable.
You're like, oh, I have a phone again. But, you know, that could just be completely painted by our perspective of how we use Android phones, right? Sometimes it's hard to know. Like, well, maybe for someone else that isn't much of a hindrance, but to ours it definitely is. I mean, any of the phones that we really talk about on this show usually have some form of Google Apps services running on it, and it's hard for me to think of using Android without it. But that's my U.S. perspective, I guess.
Yeah, I need my Google Photos.
Yeah.
If there's no Google Photos, I can't really use the phone.
Yeah. I need my Maps.
That's hard, right? Yeah, especially on a phone that is lauded for its camera system. You know you're going to be taking a lot of pictures of those. So, okay, well, that's the P40 Pro. Now, will you be doing anything on this, or should people follow your Twitter to kind of catch your thoughts?
I'll probably do a couple of videos for XDA TV, maybe an article. Not sure yet. With these, I kind of get them and do what comes to mind.
Yep. Right on. Cool. And then finally, you also happen to have the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro.
Yes.
What's the story here?
I love this phone. Probably my favorite Xiaomi phone ever. So it has probably the best haptics I've felt on an Android phone in a long time. Better than OnePlus, better than Google. It has the best speakers, the best microphone. The camera is very good. It's very fast. It has like a 90 hertz display. And the actual physical design of the phone is like not at all outdated. And MIUI, which was previously terrible, is actually really good now. So it's just a really good phone. It's expensive for a Xiaomi phone, though. It's, I believe, €999.
Oh.
Yeah. So they really upped their price, but you are getting a lot for it.
€999 at this point in time is roughly $1,084. So we're talking, right around the OnePlus 8 most premium point.
So
still kind
OnePlus 8 Pro S20-ish area.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yes. I forgot the Pro, but that is an important distinction.
Also, I forgot to mention this. This back is a matte. It's a matte texture, and it also has a color shift to it.
Ooh.
So it shifts between white, pink, purple, and blue, and it's a matte texture. So it's really comfortable to hold. I'm really happy they sent me the white one instead of the bluish black. It looks really good.
It kind of looks like a piano, like an ivory piano glossy thing or something over the camera.
It is fantastic.
That looks nice.
I posted some pictures on my Twitter and Instagram with it, and it's a very photogenic phone. It looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these phones, man, you put just a little bit of light on them. I mean, the OnePlus 8, and the Pro, I do like the kind of matte finish of the Pro. Definitely the better choice if you don't like fingerprints. But the OnePlus 8, that kind of like iridescent, kind of glowy quality to it, like they're doing some really cool color things on color effects on phones right now.
And I will say that it is welcome in what has been historically a sea of phones looking the same, So it's like, okay, well, if all the phones are going to have the general same, not be, aside from the foldables, going to have the same general, kind of bezel body aesthetic, make the backs look interesting, throw some color in there. I think I wish that more American-based or domestic-based phones would follow this as well. I feel like OnePlus is out there and Samsung does it to a certain degree, but I know Google has a certain design aesthetic for theirs, and they're choosing kind of different colors and having the accent button, the accent color in the little side button. But I don't know. I would like to see more visually stunning phones out there in the world.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of. It's fun to open up, like when I first unboxed the OnePlus 8 and saw that, and it was like, whoa, that's a really cool looking phone. Like, it's fun. The unboxing experience for someone pulling that out and seeing it brand new and sparkly and it just looks really nice. It's a cool experience. So
one of my other favorite colors is one of my other favorite colors is the purple Z Flip. That is a great color.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It has a little blue in there if you point it at the right angle.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of has a similar iridescent kind of quality to it. What do you think of the Z Flip?
I love it. It's a fun phone. It's fun. That's a good way. It's a fun phone. It's not the latest tech. It's not the best camera. Not the most useful form factor, but it's fun to flip open and fun to use.
Fun to flip open, fun to flip closed when you're hanging up on someone.
I love the hang up.
Yeah. Although you really got to use your phone to talk to people in order for that to become useful. And maybe we are more now. I don't know. But I don't hang up on many people these days. My phone calls just last forever. Flo, you have the next one.
Speaking of really pretty phone design, I'm really digging what I'm seeing here from what LG is showing off. I know that LG hasn't really been a major player in the last year or so. I mean, we've talked about the V60 ThinQ on this show. We've kind of talked about what LG is trying to do with its flagship lineup or what it's not going to do. But it looks like it does have plans. It does have plans in the future to try something. So the company has said it plans to bring mass premium and mass tier 5G products to market this year, 2020. And we're talking about the LG Velvet. It's from what rendered shots show and what we've seen, it looks like a really pretty phone. LG had teased the device first with sketches last week, and now this week it showed off a teaser video. And again, the angles are great. I mean, it clearly figured out the angles for this phone because it just looks super nice. It has a 3D arc design, which it kind of shows off with this idea of a sundial kind of design. It has a raindrop camera module on the back with no camera bump. It's just a row of cameras going downward, kind of diversifying in size. So it goes smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think it looks really cool just from a design perspective. Also has a Snapdragon 765 on the inside, which suggests, it's going to be a cheaper phone. So kind of a cheaper way to get 5G into your life if, that's something you want to jump on soon enough. And the official unveiling of this phone, the LG Velvet, is expected sometime next month. So we're talking May here. I'm assuming it's going to be an online digital only event like we've been having. So I'm looking forward to any reason to wake up and watch another keynote with my daughter, as we did with OnePlus last week. So she was surprisingly well behaved for it.
What did she think of it?
She goo goo gaga was her review of it.
That's advanced for her age. That's pretty good.
Very advanced. So
when there is no camera bump, does that automatically mean that the camera? What am I trying to say? I feel like sometimes like a camera bump, we wanna say, hey, bad camera bump, it sticks out all the way, but isn't that sometimes indicative of like a good camera system? Like there's some depth to it, or is that a false kind of association?
I feel like that's a false. I feel like this is not like having a spoiler on your car. This doesn't like help, that much. It's just, I'm assuming it's an aesthetics thing. But also, what do I know?
Sometimes I feel like on some of the larger camera bump systems, they say, oh, it has a really big sensor inside. So then I'm like, oh, well, maybe they needed the camera bump to make room for the sensor. Because, I would prefer to not have a camera bump. And so that, my phones wouldn't like wobble when they're on a table.
Now I want to look into this. Now I'm curious because we need to look at the sensors that are being used, kind of the mass market ones. We need to compare them and just kind of see if there really is a difference between a phone with a bump and a phone without one. Looking at like the Pixel 4, which I have over here in front of me, I can see, it has a significant bump on the back. That whole stovetop area is raised. We're talking about, I think the Samsung phones had that raised back. So even though it's a multi-camera system, the fact that it's raised, it's supposed to kind of lend some credence to that idea. So I don't know, but I'm also curious to know if it's something like a spoiler system, again, on a car. It's just kind of, does it really help, or is it just there for aesthetic purposes?
Or like, in the case of the Pixel 4 XL, like the camera bump from a depth standpoint is super shallow when you put it side by side with like the OnePlus 8 Pro that stands out like a kickstand, So then is this Google being really creative with how they fit the camera into the body itself, and OnePlus not? Yeah, I don't know.
I think so. I mean, I don't like the bumps. I would rather have a millimeter of thickness than the bumps, personally.
I agree.
Because I got to tell you, because the number of times that the OnePlus has, like, as it's coming in and out of my pocket, is rubbing up against that ridge in your jeans, whatever. Like when you have that bump, you find all different ways for the phone to get worn down in places that you don't want it to get worn down. So. Yeah. And also considering I'm not a case person, so which I know the solution there is to have a case and that will even out the bump, but I don't want a case.
Totally. It also protects your phone if you drop it, Ron.
True. Well, yeah, but yeah. Anyway, I can count on one hand the number of drops. So
good. The LG Velvet, I kind of like the name Velvet. Like it tells a story. And the phone itself looks pretty sharp.
It's going to be interesting to see what LG is going to try to do to kind of stay, because I guess they figured, well, the flagship game isn't really working out for us. We found a bit of a niche with the V series phones, but where else can we kind of, toss in some marbles? So I'll be curious. And I like the design paradigm. I mean, look, we've got a lot of beautiful phones coming from overseas, and so the thing that I wanted to kind of interject earlier was to say that why is Google not doing any of this with its Pixel phones? Like, I understand maybe it has something to do with material design and just what Google's overall design prowess is, or what their design philosophy is overall, but it just feels so flat in comparison to these phones that are coming out with like these really pretty backs that basically mimic the inside of an abalone shell. Like, I love that. I would like to see more of that. Yeah, personally.
Well, I think Google really wants to know that their design is their design, and when you look at the back of a Pixel 4, it really does. I mean, in some ways, it does look kind of like its own thing. Comparatively speaking, but I don't know. Who the heck knows?
There's no phone that looks like a Pixel.
It's true.
So it's kind of its own.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, and Google doesn't want to be just another phone doing iridescent designs with front, glass sandwiches.
But it's so pretty.
I understand. I agree. I think it's pretty too. All right, Ron, take us to the ad.
Yeah, we want to thank Hover for sponsoring this episode of All About Android. Because listen, we're living in a vulnerable time for us, and we need each other more than ever. You can stay in touch by creating a domain name that represents you and your personality, your brand. You can choose from over 400 domain name extensions when building your brand online. No matter what you want to build, there's a domain name waiting for it. If you're an artist, Hover allows you to create a domain that showcases your talent with the extension of .art. Get a custom domain for each individual art piece that you create. .art can be used as a catalog where you can showcase each design with descriptions and details that people can view from all around the world. Get your creative juices flowing and let Hover give you the stage for your art. And listen, I've been working on the internet. I've been working on the internet for 20 years, and throughout the whole span of my career, buying domain names has always been one thing that has been constant. Throughout all the years, I've had various different website ideas and different businesses and different things like that. And for years and years and years, you had to go through these not so great domain registrars until finally a good solution like Hover came to be and became something that we could use. They've got a great interface. It's super clean, easy to use, low cost, and awesome customer service. And listen, for many entrepreneurs and artists, Hover is a great jumping off point. They want you to start your business and display your talent with a domain name that truly showcases who you are. It's not hard to see why they are the most popular choice for people starting all kinds of businesses. Hover gives you excellent technical support and is available to answer any questions you may have. Best of all, their support team doesn't upsell you. They work hard to help you get online. Hover has free Whois privacy protection, which if you've ever registered a domain name, you know is super important. You want the privacy protection. Trust me. I've got the experience to show for it, and all the junk mail. They've also got a clean and easy to navigate user experience and user interface. They've got monthly sales on popular top-level domains, and keeping your domain name separate from hosting gives you the flexibility to choose the right platform for your business. And again, through the years, numerous websites, that's an important lesson no one's ever taught me. You want to separate your hosting from your domain registration so you have total control over your websites and all your setups and things like that. So use a domain name that truly represents you and your passion. Visit hover.com/twit to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. That's hover.com/twit for 10% off your domain extension for a full year. And we thank Hover for their support and being awesome. Thanks, Hover.
Thank you, Hover. You are indeed awesome, as Ron said.
Yep.
All right. It's time for some app news. We'll be starting with a story of news we never thought we'd see the day, but here we are.
Of epic proportions. Well, let me tell you, it's been funny because in my day job, I've been talking a lot about Fortnite because they recently added Deadpool to the mix, and that's a lot of fun, as well as some other X-Force characters in Fortnite. And I did lament last week. I'm like, oh man, I can't even put Fortnite on my phone until now. Epic Games has finally done it. Fortnite is now available on the Google Play Store. After 18 months of going at it alone, Epic says it's bringing Fortnite to the Play Store because, quote, Google puts software downloadable outside of Google Play at a disadvantage through technical and business measures. Like security pop-ups, restrictive manufacturer carrier agreements, the press release says that third-party software is malware and Google Play and Google Play Protect. It will continue to offer the APK through its site along with on the Play Store as well. So it seems as if Epic is kind of trying to have their cake and eat it too, basically, by making Fortnite available through the Google Play Store, but also kind of saying, come get it from us.
Right. You can still get it the way that we've been doing it, but we finally relent. We will offer it through the Play Store. And oh, by the way, regulators, here's a couple of more reasons why you need to look at Google, because they're being anti-competitive. It's kind of a way of saying that, anyways.
It is indeed trying to have your cake and eat it too by saying, hey, we think you're being anti-competitive, but we're going to play too, and I wonder if it is after 18 months, they just haven't gotten the pickup on the platform that they want to see. And we've seen an influx of gaming devices running Android, right? Like how many, I feel like in the past couple of months alone, we've seen phone after phone with wacky designs and lighting and things like that are aimed towards gaming. It is picking up steam. You've got these controllers, you've got Stadia, you've got all these things. And really Epic Games is shooting themselves in the foot by not being on the Play Store, despite what they think of these practices. I don't know. That's just my thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I was going to say, from what I understand, Fortnite player numbers are down a lot. I play a lot of Fortnite. Like, I think the last I checked was like 600 hours since it launched, like close to 3 years ago. But from what I understand, player numbers are really down, and they were okay with that 30% cut from Google just to be able to get it out to more people who might buy some of the new stuff.
I will say the one thing I've learned in working in media and working in this crazy world that we're in, I had the pleasure for a few years of working for a let's just say extremely popular brand that was on TV and in comic books that featured zombies. And the thing is that you ride a wave of popularity for a long time, and for a while you are convinced that you are invincible and it will never stop. And then at some point it stops. And what really kind of is the measure of a brand and measure of a company and measure of a product is how they handle themselves, not on the upswing, but on the downswing. Right. And, we've seen this with Blizzard and Warcraft and all, that whole, realm of stuff is like things are not popular forever. And you've got to plan for the long term, and you got to have ways to, really sustain and survive. And it looks like Epic is going through those growing pains.
Indeed. Epic also has a lot of different aspects to its business. Fortnite is not the only thing that they have going for themselves.
House parties on the rise, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk about that a little bit, right?
Exactly. We'll have that a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, Fortnite has to do, I suppose, what they have to do, but it also behooves them right now to raise a little bit of a stink. I mean, like, yeah, we're only doing this because Google is anti-competitive, so make this. But it also gets them a lot of visibility, and that's going to be good for the game and for the players, like you said, Max. So. Also along the gaming line is Facebook Gaming. Gaming, obviously, it's really hot right now. Facebook's launch of Facebook Gaming app for Android probably couldn't come at a better time right now when everybody is just kind of so focused at the home on gaming. So here's a new platform. And I guess Facebook Gaming, like, I'm not too familiar with the platform. I haven't been on Facebook for a couple of years now. But you can watch, you can share gameplay. And what's interesting about the Android app, it is releasing only on Android for now. iOS is coming. I think maybe that's going through the certification or that process that Apple puts apps through before it allows them on the platform. So maybe you won't have to wait long if you're on iOS. But on Android, at least, you can share your gameplay from the device directly through the app, which is, from what I understand, a little bit different from what you might get if you wanted to stream from your Android device to Twitch. You might need to use like a third-party app, maybe. You don't necessarily just do it through Twitch itself. You kind of have to do a roundabout thing, and here Facebook Gaming, you can do it right through the app. I guess the question is, do gamers want to be broadcasting their gameplay on Facebook? And I'm definitely the wrong person to answer that. But we happen to have Max on, who has played many hundreds of hours of Fortnite. So maybe you would know better than I, or better than any of us. Do you think Facebook Gaming is a good platform for this sort of thing? Do you think these are features that gamers want on their mobile devices to be able to stream immediately through the app with no hurdles?
No. So the people that play Facebook Gaming, especially on mobile, mobile gaming is more of a popular YouTube thing. People will go to YouTube to watch. That's generally what I've noticed. If you go to Twitch, the mobile gaming, maybe 1,000 people at any given time, when other games, hundreds of thousands. So mobile gaming's more of a record then upload thing. And in general, just talking about Facebook Gaming as a whole, right now the hierarchy of live streaming, it's Twitch, YouTube, Mixer, Caffeine, and Facebook Gaming right at the bottom. And that's not changing, and the mobile app isn't going to change it either. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a nice app. It's a nice attempt, but none of the gamers are going to want to use Facebook. They'd rather use Twitch and Twitter.
Now, I wonder
what's interesting about this, though, is that, and I'm sorry, Flo, let's say you're absolutely right, Max, in terms of that hierarchy, and I would say I would actually possibly put Caffeine above Mixer, but Mixer is Microsoft, so they've got a lot of resources behind them. What I do find interesting about Facebook Gaming is that it basically allows you to stream directly from your phone and not have to do through some arcane way of doing it or some rig or some setup or something like that. It is just instant published to Facebook.
Yeah.
On a mobile game, which is compelling, I think.
Yeah. Also, to comment on the hierarchy there, Mixer paid, so I was seeing a report, apparently Mixer paid Ninja $20 to $30 million to exclusively stream on their platform for 5 years. And Twitch is making similar deals, and so is Caffeine, and so is Facebook Gaming, and so is YouTube. So right now it's a bidding war for the streamers, and Mixer's kind of winning. I mean, yeah, I will say Facebook definitely has like 2 or 3 decent-sized streamers going to them exclusively, but Twitch is winning because you get a lot more subscribers, a lot more viewers, and the ad revenue will make up whatever the other companies were offering.
What were you going to say,
Twitch
Flo?
is after Flo.
I was going to add, I'm wondering if this had something to do, some infrastructure placement for Oculus down the line. That's what I'm sort of
interesting.
Thinking.
Oh, that's it.
That
would
would presume that VR, the building blocks, like we start with mobile to kind of like suss it out, how it's going to work bandwidth wise and that sort of nature, and then have it be for, who knows, VR streaming down the line. I don't know. I'm just
that would presume that Facebook has their house in order and everything's working in support of different business units. And based off what I've heard from people inside Oculus and Facebook, that is not the case at all. So, I think you're right from the outset that would be a smart kind of integration. Facebook internal brands are not known to play well together. So.
Yeah.
By the way, I will say, still get motion sickness when I was watching people play Half-Life Alyx on Twitch. So.
Yeah. Some people are more susceptible to that than others.
But it's like, I'm not in the game. Why am I getting sick from watching this? Anyway.
That's a good point. Yeah. Totally. All right. And then, Flo, you have the last bit of app news.
I do. And this one I think is just really going to resonate with folks who are stuck at home and just want to talk to their family. So Google Duo is actually getting a feature update, which, again, very well timed considering. It includes improved AV1 video codec to clean up video quality and reliability, particularly for those who are in a low bandwidth area. It also includes Moments, which takes a picture that includes a side-by-side image of everyone on the call at the same moment, and then they save it to the device. So just kind of one of those cheeky things that Google does, like, here's a fun little thing that you can do. Also allows you to save video messages that are left for you. So maybe somebody left you, oh my God, I miss you so much. Where are you? What are you doing right now? And you just want to like watch it over and over again afterwards. You can do that. Also, the update includes recently increased size of group calls. So now up to 12 people can jump on a call together in Google Duo, and there are plans to increase that number very soon. Again, all very well timed. I think that this is the time, if you have a video chatting suite app of any sort, that this is the time you should be making these kind of updates. Security updates, feature updates, just anything to entice people to use your product. I will say that in the midst of everything that has been going on and the fact that I've had to shift a lot of my interaction to video, Google Duo has not fallen in the list of things to use. It usually starts with FaceTime, and then I go, sorry guys, only have FaceTime on my husband's MacBook. Then it goes to Hangouts because everybody just has that with Gmail. Then it goes to Skype, and then maybe Duo is mentioned, but I've done Snapchat, I've done Hangouts, I've done WhatsApp, I've done everything but Duo.
It never comes up. My hierarchy right now is WhatsApp, Zoom, Skype.
Right, I forgot about Zoom.
Yeah.
Even
but
though
like Duo,
it's been happening, I forgot about it.
And what's funny is that like my sister has a Pixel 3, and I'm on, we could use Duo, but we talk on WhatsApp all the time, and WhatsApp's video call works just fine. Like it does exactly what it needs to do. Also, I take umbrage, and of course we were talking about Apple earlier, but it was funny because my wife and I were talking about this about a week ago. So it just drives me crazy that the concept of video chatting has been Kleenexed by Apple with FaceTime.
Yeah.
Because even my sister, who's on an Android phone, will be like, FaceTime later? I'm like, no, it's not FaceTime. We're video chatting. It's not that. It's not a Kleenex or a Xerox or a brand name that has now been applied to an application. Bothers me. But that's just,
it's not, but that's how Apple got them with the marketing.
I'm going to go yell at a cloud. Yeah, it worked too well, unfortunately, that branding. I don't know. Max, what is your hierarchy of video chat apps?
House Party.
I love this hierarchy game, by the way.
FaceTime, Zoom. And I have Duo. All my friends have Duo. We never use Duo.
Yeah.
I also get those notifications. So-and-so has Duo. Call them. And I'm like, we've never video chatted before. We're not doing it now.
Right.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah, I had that today when I was putting the story in there. I was like, well, maybe I should be using Duo. But, I don't. What would my hierarchy be? I mean, my hierarchy tends to be, I suppose, Zoom's probably, Zoom and Hangouts are probably tied. It really just depends on who I plan to talk to or whatever. Zoom and Hangouts, a little bit of House Party, but I haven't had a whole lot of those. And then I don't use FaceTime, but my daughter does to talk with some of her friends. So FaceTime's definitely in there as well. But I will say it's pretty evenly split between Zoom and Hangouts for me.
I've never used House Party, but I'm not using Hangouts with anyone. Although I will say I am using Google Meet, which is Hangouts through the G Suite. I'm using that more and more through Scorbit because we have that on where my side projects we're all on there. And I had a call today on it, and it's really, really good.
It is.
Google Meet is actually really solid. So it for the video conferencing, because of my day job, we're using Blue Jeans, which is I don't know how much experience anybody's had with Blue Jeans, but it's not the best. And then I move over to Google Meet. And I'm like, oh man, this actually works. This is great. So, I forgot my hierarchy, Slack. Slack's in there. I would need to adjust. I will adjust my hierarchy now, and I'll layer in the work calls. So it's gonna be WhatsApp, Slack, Blue Jeans, Skype, or Zoom, Skype in that order. Yeah. So
okay. Yeah, and I made
so many options.
I made the mistake of lumping Hangouts and Hangouts Meet into the same category. When I say Hangouts, I mean both of those. I have done some Hangouts video chats, and I have done some Meet chats.
I need to unlock
I suppose
Hangouts
they're
Meet.
Different. What's that?
I need to unlock Hangouts Meet. I feel so left out of this.
Yeah, it's nice. It's kind of like Hangouts 2.0. You know what I mean? It's like the Hangouts but actually good. So, yeah. All right. That was fun. Let's do just a couple of quick emails, and then we'll get into the arena in a moment. But Ron, you got the first one.
Yes, I do. So our first one comes in from Patrick Olson, who wrote in and said, I would like to address my thoughts on a couple of apps you've recently discussed. For the Braille keyboard, I like the button layout because you're much less likely to hit the wrong dot by accident. The problem I have with every Braille keyboard I've tried to use on Android is that there are only 6 dots. This does not address the need for a spacebar, enter key, backspace, and there are some symbols you cannot do in Braille, such as ampersand and hashtag or hash pound, whatever. If someone does want to use a Braille keyboard, they can use a refreshable Braille display with a keyboard or a Braille note taker. A Braille note is usually a computer normally without a screen that you navigate through using text-to-speech or the refreshable Braille display. And so thank you, Patrick. That's a little more shedding some light on the world of utilizing Braille with phones and computers. Fascinating stuff. So.
Yeah, my apologies. I actually removed. He had a couple of points on Dark Sky and Google Fit. That didn't make the cut, but I really appreciated any actually perspective on the Braille keyboard. And it sounds like Patrick kind of has some background with Braille keyboards, so that's really interesting stuff. Yep. And then real quick, Tyler Hilliard, who I'm a big fan of. He's definitely working for us from the fandom of All About Android. He is the creator of Android.Hilliard.digital, which tracks Android distribution numbers and makes his own graphs around trends and stuff. He said, thanks for the update last week about 9 to 5 providing these numbers. I've updated my charts with their figures. And if you like pretty graphs that are based on how Android as an operating system is doing at this point in time, check out Android.Hilliard.digital, and you can kind of see his revised data that is being placed into these graphs and charts and stuff. And it's really cool to thumb through and see how far, this is kind of interesting. This far along in the release, versions we're at. This is the middle chart up at the very top. And that shows you at this point, where which was the fastest growing. It looks like, according to this, Lollipop, 18% compared to Q at 8% at the same point in its history. So just a lot of different neat graphs and stuff to pull from. Anyways, thank you for making that, Tyler. We appreciate that. And Let's take a break, thank the sponsor, and then we will get into the arena. We'll show off some apps that we like. Some of them you've already heard of in this episode. We'll dive into them a little bit deeper. But this episode of All About Android is brought to you by ZipRecruiter, and this is actually a message directly from ZipRecruiter. They say this: right now, we cannot be overwhelmed. We have to work to keep our loved ones safe and protect our communities. We have to work to stay strong, to stay connected, and stay focused. We have to work to inspire, to innovate, to build new solutions. But for all of this to work, we have to work together. And at ZipRecruiter, we connect employers and people every day. But today is different. We are partnering with first responders, with government officials, the medical community, the innovators, and the manufacturing, transportation, and food distribution industries. And we want to make sure we are finding the right people for the right jobs right now. So let's work together. ZipRecruiter.com/work together is where you can go to find more information about this effort and just take a look at everything that ZipRecruiter does for people who are looking for jobs or looking for people qualified for their jobs. That's ZipRecruiter.com/work together. Check it out. Thank you, ZipRecruiter, for your support of this show. All right, with that, it's time to jump into the arena and battle a little bit. Battle, why won't we?
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
All right, last week's poll, episode 468, and it appears nice. Right on. Fender Play wins with 32, almost 33% of the vote. Excellent. Hey, you know what? When you offer something like this for free for 90 days, it's hard to pass up. Second place, 27% for Museo Music Player. Excellent. Third place, Disney Plus at 22%. And fourth place, Snap Search at 17%. Good work, y'all.
All right. And so with those results through 15 weeks, Jason, you are still firmly in first place with 39 points. Could this become the year of Jason? We will see. Last year was the year of Flo. We'll see. Flo is in second place with 36 points. I'm in third place with 31 points. I need a win. And the guests are in last place with 28 points. And thank you, Cousin of Ja, for saying Snap Search was robbed. In fact, it was robbed. And the lovely people at Snap Search they posted the video on Twitter, and they were very thankful for it. And they asked for promo code if we want promo codes. So maybe I will get some promo codes for Snap Search for everyone. So there you go. Stay tuned. So.
There you go. All right. Well, Ron, that means you go first.
I do go first. I got to turn on my my screen sharing thing. I wasn't ready to go first. But it was funny because I actually had another app in the plan to be in the arena. And then I did peek and see how I did last week, and I saw I lost. And I'm like, oh man, I need a win. And then I did a quick audible to switch to this one because honestly, I don't know why this wasn't my first choice. But so Burke, I am streaming my screen via the URL in the dock under video URL. So for those who are watching video, should be able to see me. There it is. There is my screen. So the app I have today for you is a music player app called Plex Amp. And this is from the fine makers of Plex. For those of you who use Plex for your video and media kind of management, things like that. They've come out with a dedicated music player that will play music from your Plex server instance. So here, when you log in, it's a very simple, easy to see, easy to use UI here. But when you log in, you see your most recent plays, you see recently added music, and then there's a bunch of radio stations that you can tap into, as well as a history of things. And you can search. And what this is going to do is it is going to search not against anything that's streaming or not against a service. By the way, did you see my keyboard? My Google keyboard has got the babies. Anyway, that picture is from the summer, and they are much different looking now. Anyway,
yes.
So the search results that we're getting back here are not from Google Play Music or from YouTube Music or from Spotify. These are from the MP3s that are sitting on my desktop's hard drive that's running a Plex media server. So anywhere in the world, I can tap into my music, my local MP3 music, and stream it. I can download these songs like you do for local playback. I can stream them. I can edit the settings, playback settings, so they play at a higher quality over Wi-Fi versus cellular, etc. So if I go to play a song, if I dive deeper into an album, it's pulling in the tracks directly from my computer, and then I can choose to play it or play next or add to a queue, add to a playlist. I can go to that artist. It is basically 100% a music player that's just playing off my Plex server. It's amazing. And we're talking about what are we going to do when Google Play Music goes away. I might have my solution. So if you go into the settings, you're able to tweak the appearance. You can change the theme, from dark to light, of course. You can change the backgrounds to be either smooth or blurred, which is pretty neat. You can turn on or off high quality visualizations. You can go in and edit the playback settings. So you can adjust, they've got loudness leveling, as well as sweet fades, mind-blowing mashups, no matter how eclectic your taste. You can get full access to the equalizer, which is pretty cool. And then in the music quality section, this is where you can specify over Wi-Fi whether you'd want maximum quality or what bitrate you want on your music. You can change that when you're on cell. And then, of course, the downloads, it would be, automatic depending on network connectivity. So it's really freaking powerful. And under advanced, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. You can specify how many songs you can cache, enable downloads on cellular or not. You can utilize a preamp or a limiter. It's really, really, really impressive. And I'm really happy to see Plex come up with because honestly, I was using the regular Plex app, which was fine, but it's a little muddled with all the TV and video and music and all stuff like that. And just the fact that I can have a dedicated music player, it's got a nice, when you're playing a song here, I'll play another song here. So when you choose to play one, you got this nice notification pane, which pulls in the album art and gives you control over what you're going to do here, whether you want to play or pause or skip. It's just, it is a nice stab at a music player app. And the best of all, it's got all my music, which is all I want out of a music app. So I might have my YouTube or Google Play Music replacement and not go to YouTube Music. I'm just going to stick with buying MP3s and downloading the MP3s when I buy the vinyl record and stream everything off my local machine. So there it is. Plex Amp. Nice. It's free in the Google Play Store. And you need this if you have a large local MP3 library and you're looking what to do after Google Play Music goes on to the next life. So,
yeah. Now this should be noted. Plex Pass. You got to have the Plex Pass subscription in order for this to work. But yeah, I saw this and it's a great looking player. What I find so interesting or so funny, I guess, from this is it reminded me of what this whole music streaming world was like before Google Play Music came into my life. Because before Google Play Music came, I had my library at home on a computer with an app that tied into that computer called Audio Galaxy. I actually featured it on episode 2 of All About Android. And so it did basically this back on episode 2. But then when Google Play Music came out,
11 years ago.
11 years ago, yeah, however long ago that was, and then Google Play Music came along and said, "Well, why don't you just upload your music up here? It'll just be." And it was like, "Okay, great, I don't have to do that anymore." Now we're going back in the other direction because Google Play Music's going to go away, and we are entirely convinced with YouTube Music. Yeah.
I will say the funny thing about it all is that if you look at what the pros of a stream, and this is a much larger conversation about music, kind of streaming services and things like that, but a lot of it was discovery and like, easily adding new things to your library and things like that. And trust me, there will be there's years of albums that are in my Google Play Music that I just hit that add to my library button that I don't have the MP3s for. So I'm going to need to get those and get them and everything. But honestly, buying the MP3s direct from artists these days is much more preferable. Like I buy a lot of stuff off Bandcamp. Say what you will, I don't know what the split is on Amazon or whatever. Flo, last week you mentioned buying MP3s off Amazon. I do that as well too. I'd much rather get the money more direct to the artist. And then, honestly, about I want to say a year or a year and a half, or maybe 2 years ago, Google Play Music gutted their new release section, where it used to be split up by genre and all that sort of stuff, and now it's just all mixed in there, and it's just a mess. And I haven't discovered a new record on Google Play Music in ages because of that. Because I have very specific music tastes, and I drill down to the alternative / indie genre. So then I'm like, okay, this is my music. But now it's all hip hop and stuff that Flo listens to and stuff like that I just have no interest in. And it's even harder to discover that stuff. And I never use the radio features. Like I want my music. I've got tens, if not hundreds of thousands of MP3s. Just give me a way to get to my music and let me live in the 90s and be happy. So this seems to be the solution. So. And to question in the chat room, will it do FLAC? Yes, it will do FLAC. Plex has amazing media support for file sizes and things like that. It is going to stream at a lower bit rate than FLAC. Especially if you've got a very high quality lossless kind of file format, it is gonna do the encoding to stream it out at a lower bit rate just to get out via the network. But that's okay too. So
yeah, good pick. That is called
Plex
Amp. All right, Flo, you're up next. What you got?
Am I? Is it me? It's me. Alrighty. So I'm going to actually fire up the same app that Ron just did. Sorry. I'm just starting it up right now.
To cast it.
Okay. So I have brought just kind of a novelty app to the arena today. I know I've been trying to bring in a lot of utility apps, but today I brought a novelty. This one is called Computer Launcher. You can find it in the Play Store under WinX Launcher. So it's supposed to be like Windows 10. And I just thought this was really fun. So basically what it does is it turns your Android home screen into the Windows interface. It's available with different versions of Windows, but I'm using it with Windows 10 just to show for this. So what you're seeing here is my file browser. So hopefully it doesn't reveal anything, but you can go in to your Android phone and basically browse it as if you were on your Windows PC using the same file structure that you would do, kind of like a built-in file explorer, basically. So instead of buying or downloading an app that would do this for you, you would get this app and basically kind of play it from that perspective. You have a little notification shade, just like on Windows 10. You have a little start menu, just like on Windows 10, and you can go through your apps just like this. You just kind of scroll through the same way you would do on Windows 10, or you could search for an app if you like. It will give you on the side over here, it'll give you a couple of apps by default. Now, what's interesting to me is that it's showing Facebook and Skype, two apps that I do not have installed on this phone. I haven't tried clicking them because I don't want those apps on my phone. So maybe that won't work. But if you want, you can tap the camera button and it'll work just fine like it would on your Windows PC. And then you can... Another one little thing that I'm still trying to get working, but it'll give you an FTP address that you can log in through your computer browser. I'm still trying to get that to work. I like the prospect of it, but thus far it's not working for me, so bummer. If you would like to just go through your folders, you can do that very easily. Just go in. Look at this. Oh, I'm looking through all of my folders. Wow. If you'd like to share, you can share a file through your network. You can connect to LAN if that's something that you have. And it'll connect you that way. It says that there's Cortana on here, but it's just the search function as far as I know. You can set defaults for the apps in the dock by long pressing, and then it'll allow you to change an app. So for instance, down here, by default, it would have Chrome, but I have Brave opening up here. And this is my usual home screen. And I'm going to go back to this launcher. Here's the main screen. So this is what the main interface looks like. You have a little user profile, which will take you to that file folder. You have this PC, which will take you to your folders. You have a recycle bin, which you can use to trash things as you need. It also lets you adjust the theme. So here's where you would change the theme. It offers all these interesting sort of themes that I haven't really dived into. You will have to install an app, though, if you want something different, which is a bit of a bummer. But developers, they got to show off their wares. If you want to remove the ads on this, you will have to pay $3. I did that. I shot the developer $3. Just, it's a creative app and support your devs. A couple of other little things is that it'll allow you to create files and folders in the directory structure, so you don't have to, it's not just, faking it. It is actually creating new files and folders. It has widgets that you can get. So on the desktop, you can long press as you normally would. You can customize what it would look like, your theme. You can change your wallpaper. You can add widgets as you need. So you can go to launcher widgets and it'll give you specific widgets that it offers in that Windows 10 style. So overall, it's just a fun little distraction if you're looking for something to waste time with. Computer launcher.
I love it.
Sometimes I do this. Sometimes I go into the Play Store.
Yeah, I love it. It also looks so painful at times. Having to stare at.
Listen, it's totally novelty. I came in with a novelty today. I just wanted to give you all something fun to do, and then when you're over it, you could just uninstall it.
We'll take it. We'll take some fun.
Yeah. When you're done, you just launch it right off your phone. Computer launcher. I love it. Good pick. All right, Max. You have one. This is just one of those situations where it's like, okay, I'm surprised this has not been in the arena before, but you're the lucky recipient of the first person to bring this app to the arena. Tell us all about it.
So I chose House Party, and I would do a demo, but it's kind of hard with the video calling app, especially the way this one works.
Yeah.
So unlike most video calling apps, you would just call someone, and it would work like a phone call. You pick up, it's a video instead. But House Party, when you open the app, your friends get a notification that you're in the house, and then they can join you. So instead of having like a planned, hey, I'm going to call you and we can, video chat, FaceTime. Instead, it's more of like an off the cuff, oh, hey, my friend's in House Party. And legitimately right now, I'm getting notifications on one of my phones. My friends are in House Party. So I can just click it, open it, and it go into one of the rooms with them. And you can have multiple rooms. So if you have 2 or 3 friends on, you can join different people, and it works out well. They also added some games, so Heads Up is part of it. They have some trivia questions and others. And if you did want to actually call someone, there are 2 calling options. There's one called Wave, where someone just gets a push notification saying, hey, someone wants to talk to you. And then there's an actual call function where it works like a normal video call, and it will call them. If you want, these are private rooms, but there's a lock function if you want to have a private conversation with someone or don't want some random friend you don't really like to join you.
And this is owned by Epic Games as well, right?
Epic Games purchased it not too long ago, and then they implemented a very similar thing into the Fortnite app on iOS and Android. I've been using it for about 3 years, though.
Yeah, no, they bought it longer than you think. It happened long ago, longer than you. Oh no, it was June 2019. That's what it was. Okay. So it's within the past year. I thought it was 2018 for some reason, but yeah, it did happen last year. So
nice. Yeah, and House Party, that was a morph from Meerkat, if I'm not mistaken. It was Meerkat prior to House Party, and then and then Periscope out meerkatted Meerkat, and then they pivoted to House Party, and hey, they got their buyout. They got their Epic Games buyout. So that's awesome. And now is like the perfect time for an app like House Party to find its audience and everything.
That's for sure.
So, yeah, if it hadn't already. So that's House Party. Great pick. Very cool app. Very interesting. Also, the kind of the playing games over, heads up over the call is really fun. So awesome stuff. That's House Party. Check it out. All right. My app, and Burke, I do have a pre-recorded thing in there. You can find that and play it. My app is a customization app. I'm actually kind of surprised that Ron didn't get to this one first. This seems right in your wheelhouse, Ron.
It is. I noticed that.
This is all about taking that volume pane, your volume panel on your phone, and customizing it to whatever you want it to look like. It's called Volume Styles. Customize your volume panel. It is free. They do have a $1.99 upgrade to the premium version, which adds more customization, full color customization, all styles. It has the option to auto expand the volume pane when you open up your volume pane instead of having to do it manually. Also modifying things like length and thickness of sliders and stuff. So in this video, I'm kind of showing what my Pixel looked like prior to. This is like my stock standard volume pane adjustment. Going into volume styles, obviously there's a number of different permissions and accessibility permissions that you have to activate in order for it to work. But then you're given this endless row of different styles, and you can just modify it to your heart's delight. This is kind of like more of a stock Android. If you really like the iOS style of volumes, you can select that, and it totally decks it out. I'm pulling this up, by the way, obviously with the volume rocker. I hit that, and it automatically just brings up the new style that Volume Styles is doing. And they have some other ones that are kind of interesting. They kind of animate a little bit. This one shows kind of like a color kind of shifting, kind of laserish sort of style to it. And then I think at some point I show off an emoji. Oh, this one with waves. There's a number of different pre-built styles that I'm kind of showing off. But then, of course, there's a whole lot of customization as well. You could pull up one of these, have it be kind of like a starting point, and then go into your customization knobs. Oh, this one's silly. This one's like an emoji one, which yeah, I'm sure a couple of people would appreciate having that one. It's not my cup of tea.
At least one of the people on the show would like that.
Possibly so. Possibly so. And then there's like a knob approach, which is kind of what you see here. This really big knob with like a circular knob. And then, like I said, you can go in, you can customize any aspect of these things. Maybe change it to green instead of blue, or put on an automatic dark mode, depending, based on the system-wide dark mode setting. All these things, adjust the width of the slider. What does the knob on the slider, the handle of the slider look like, and where is it positioned on the screen? All that kind of stuff is customizable. So it's definitely one of those toolkits that you can go nuts, or just choose a preset and change the way your volume knob works on your device. And it's really easy to use. It's called Volume Styles. Like I said, it's free. You get some extra features when you pay $1.99. Support your devs, and and it works pretty awesomely on my phone. You should check it out on yours. Volume Styles. All right, that is that for the arena. We have 4 apps for you to vote on. You can go to twit.to/AAA poll 469. twit.to/AAA poll 469, and place your vote for your favorite app. Is it Volume Styles, like it is for Burke, Plex Amp, House Party, or Computer Launcher? Burke doesn't mess around. He just
Burke got to the point. Wow.
He gets in there and he's like, this one, thank you very much, goodbye.
And I thought he was going to go with Flo's app, but he was all about Volume Slide.
Yeah,
wow,
he got changed.
Burke.
He got changed.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Burke. I appreciate it. Okay. So again, twit.to/AAA poll 469, and we'll check in on those apps next week and see which one wins the popular vote. But we have reached the end of the show. And Max, it's been great having you on, man. I'm really happy that we could finally get you on this show. And we would absolutely love to have you back on the show sometime. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Thank you.
It was. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
So primarily the work that you do with XDA, that's for XDA TV, right? It's all the video. It's mostly the video work, right?
I do both. It's more like what I feel like doing at the time. So maybe
that's a nice gig.
So yeah. So right now I'm not doing much because I don't know. I'm busy with whatever. But probably a bit later I'll be doing a little bit more articles and then a little bit more video. So yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, everybody can go to xda-developers.com to follow Max's work there, and then of course XDA on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and search for XDA TV, you can find all the video work that's being done. I continue to love the work that you guys are doing. I've always been a fan of XDA, and thank you for doing what you do. Really appreciate it. Ron, what's new in your world?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RonXO. That's my handle on both those platforms. And those watching video see my lower third, Scorebit.io is my fun little pinball project on the side. But I do want to call out my other side project that's probably the one I've been doing the longest time. My compatriots back at iFanboy, who every week are doing a weekly podcast talking about comic books. I've mentioned on the show before, new comic books are not shipping because of the whole situation in the world, and so iFanboy has needed to expand in their content. So I have returned to the show, and we are watching every episode of G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero. And on each episode, on each episode of the podcast, we're talking about the next episode in succession. We started at episode 1. We're on episode 3. We did number 3 last week. This Sunday, the next episode we'll be talking about episode number 4. We're reliving our 80s glory with G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero. So if you like that cartoon and you want to hear me blather on about nonsense cartoons that make no sense in regards to science or technology or anything, go to ifanboy.com. You can subscribe, and you can hear about comic books and hear me talk about G.I. Joe. So
I love it. Oh my goodness, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, fun
love it. Right on. I'm pretty certain Victor would be cheering for you right now with that as well.
He probably would have voted for my app listening. Too, but
yeah, probably so. You're right. Yeah. Flo, what about you?
As always, I'm just here toiling away in my purple dungeon. So you can find out what I'm toiling on at florencezion.com. That is the Flow feed. And, I'm just figuring out new content for the website and trying to get that podcast I launched last year off the ground again. So, honestlytechpod.com if you'd like to check it out.
That's right. honestlytechpod.com. Big thanks to Victor, who is behind the scenes helping out and editing, of course, once the show is done. Also, big thanks to Burke, who is in the studio pushing all the buttons, making this actually happen. Thanks to you both. We could not do this without you. If you want to find me online, I'm, of course, here on the TWiT network doing all sorts of shows, all about Android, of course, but also Tech News Weekly. Just did the review of the OnePlus 8 and the 8 Pro on Hands on Tech. So that's twit.tv/HOT to see the full review there. And then Hands on Android, twit.tv/HOA. The current episode is turning your tablet into a second display, which might make you more productive while you're working at home. Upcoming episode is going to be about how to uninstall bloatware. Even calling it bloatware is probably a little, some people might not like that, but it is what it is. All right. So there you go. twit.tv/HOA. That is it for this week's show. This show publishes every Tuesday evening. All you have to do is go to twit.tv/AAA. That is where you can find the audio version, the video version, all of the ways to subscribe. And whatever podcatcher you like to use, or even YouTube, you can link right to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. That way you don't have to think about it. The episodes just appear as if like magic. It's a crazy thing, this podcast world. And please do so. And we enjoy doing this show each and every week. We could not do it without you guys watching and listening. So thank you for your continued support for this show. And we'll see y'all next week on another episode of All About Android. Bye, everybody.